All right, let's dive into a really fascinating journey today. We're going to talk about what happens after you've done all the hard work, after you've meticulously built the life you want, only to realize there's this whole other system at play. We're talking about the incredible shift from designing the self to really understanding the invisible force that your self operates within. Let's get right into it. So, you've done all the heavy lifting, right? You've audited your life, you've cleaned up the feed, you've tracked all the metrics. You've basically built what feels like a flawless personal operating system. But then, in those quiet moments, this question just bubbles up. If the machine is so perfectly tuned, why does it feel like something's still missing? Like I'm missing the whole point. So, in this explainer, we're going to follow that exact feeling. Here's how we'll break it down. First, we'll look back at building the conscious architect and pinpoint exactly where that approach hits a wall. Then, we're going to dive deep into this unseen force, learn its kind of strange but powerful logic, what our source calls the mathematics of relationship. And finally, we'll see what it actually means to evolve from an architect into a full-on participant. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Part one of this journey was all about becoming what's called the conscious architect. The whole goal was to stop being a passive user of your own life, just reacting to whatever notification pops up on the screen, and to start becoming the deliberate, intentional designer of your own experience. And the toolkit for this whole architect phase was the 4D framework. You can think of these as the 4 pillars for building that conscious self. First up, you have target, having a clear direction but making sure it's flexible, not so rigid it snaps. Then comes truth, being radically honest with yourself about what's really going on. Then totally, that's about full-on commitment, no escape hatches. And finally, title, understanding that your identity is a role you play, not something you are. These were the absolute bedrock principles for taking back control. And this metaphor just perfectly captures the ambition of this whole phase. It's about moving from just clicking the icons on the desktop of your mind, just reacting to pop-ups, to actually opening up the command line and writing the source code that runs the entire show. It's about taking total ownership of your internal world. But here it is. This is the critical pivot point of the entire journey, because even a perfectly designed self, a masterfully coded internal operating system, isn't a closed loop. It has to connect with a messy, unpredictable world. And that is where the architect hits their absolute limit. These two metaphors just explain it so well. On one hand, you could be a virtuoso violinist, a true master of your instrument. But if you're playing in a vacuum where there's no air to carry the sound, you're not making any music. Or think about this. You could be a flawless driver, perfect steering, perfect braking, total self-control. But if you're just dropped into a new city with no map and no GPS, you are completely and utterly lost. So here's the big takeaway. Individual mastery is essential, but it's not enough. Self-regulation is your ability to drive the car perfectly, but that doesn't tell you a single thing about the traffic patterns or the road network or even where you're trying to go. It is only half of the equation. And that realization, that's the doorway into the second half of this whole journey. This is where we shift our focus from just tuning the instrument to actually understanding the entire concert hall. That invisible space where the music even happens in the first place. And this is the realm of what's called the unseen force. Now, I know the term unseen force can sound a little mystical, right? But the source material is really clear on this. This is not magic. It's just a term for the systems, the networks, the invisible architecture that connects everything together. It's the context that all our individual mastery has to operate within. This quote just brings it all home. All that hard work building the architect, tuning your instrument, it was absolutely essential. But without the medium to carry the music, without the air, without the unseen force, it just remains silent. The force is the context that gives all of our actions meaning and impact. So let's define it really clearly. The unseen force is simply the system in which you operate. It's the operating system behind your operating system. It's that vast interconnected traffic network that your individual car is driving on. It's the acoustics of the room that determine if your music is going to soar or just fall flat. So if you're going to interface with this force, you need a whole new logic, a new rule book. The architect's mode was all about control and construction. This new mode, it's about relationship and participation. And it comes with its own very unique kind of mathematics. And at the heart of this new math is this simple but profound idea.
the position of one, where one just represents you, the self. So when you operate as X over one, it means I wield X. I am the context, the force shaping the variable. Think of it like a sculptor shaping a block of stone. That's the architect's mode. But when you flip it to 1 over X, it means X shapes me. Suddenly, the variable, the environment, the relationship, the challenge, that becomes the context that shapes the self. And this is the mode of the participant. It's about yielding.
And get this logic isn't just a solo sport. The mathematics of two shows us that when this kind of transformation happens within a relationship between two people who are both aware of this system, the potential doesn't just add up. It actually multiplies. The connection itself becomes this incredible technology for growth, creating a space that has way more capacity than either person could have on their own. And this brings us to the final, beautiful synthesis of this entire journey. It's this incredible evolution from a state of unconscious hope through this period of deliberate control and into a final stage of conscious co-creation. It's the big shift from architect to participant. Let's just walk through this evolution one more time because it's so clear. First, you have the user who just clicks buttons and hopes for a reward. Then the architect takes over, draws the blueprints, and tries to control the whole structure. But finally, you have the participant who gets that they are not a closed system. They learn to dance with a living, breathing ecosystem, co-creating with the unseen force instead of trying to dominate it. And this is the ultimate shift in perspective right here. It's this deep, humbling realization that you don't generate the life force. Your job isn't to control it, but to build a vessel that's strong enough and clear enough to host it, and then to just let it flow through you. And that brings us to the final, really provocative question we're left with. After all that work of building the self, of tuning the instrument, of becoming a master architect, are you finally willing to step down from the conductor's podium? Are you willing to stop trying to force the music and instead just let it play through you? Because that, right there, is the difference between playing the music and becoming it.